We're not talking about actors. We mean a real monster.
I brought her back. She'll live and I'll get her another body.
I know they're gonna kiss me, but don't let anyone see me like that. Please, doctor, help me!
Biologically speaking, it's of primary importance that man should want to mate. Hey, that
You don't get all your kicks from surfing, do you?
We want to be free to ride our machines without being hassled by the man. And we want to get loaded.
You think you're gonna make a slave of the world? I'll see you in hell first!
The American International Podcast.
Are you ready?
Welcome once again to the American International Podcast. I'm Cheryl Lightfoot.
I'm Jeff Markin.
And in this episode, we encounter gladiator games, palace politics, barbarian brutes, and many, many men in miniskirts in Revenge of the Gladiators from 1964.
Revenge of the Gladiators had the original title of La Vendetta dei Gladiatori. It was directed by Luigi Capuano from a screenplay by Arpad DeRiso and Roberto Gianviti, and that's from a story by Arpad DeRiso and Luigi Capuano.
Revenge of the Gladiators stars Mickey Hargitay as Fabius, José Greci as Priscilla, Livio Lorenzon as Genseric, Renato Baldini as General Aetsius, Roldano Lupi as Valentinian III, Andrea Cecchi as Gabinius, Nerio Bernardini as Tidone, Pasquale De Filippo as Crassus, Andrea Paul as Calpurnia, Benito Stefanelli as Gladiator Ardensius.
Also appearing are Mirko Ellis as Wilfried, son of Genseric, Dante Maggio as the drunk at the tavern, Giovanni Cianfiglia as Gladiator Fulvius, Amadeo Trilli as Master of the Fortress, Bruno Scipioni as Peronius, Valentinian's guard, and George Gano and Mel Wells appear as dubbed American voices.
Revenge of the Gladiators opens with a battle already in progress. Men are fighting with swords, spears, axes, and whatever they have at hand. It's impossible to tell who's who. Everyone looks more or less the same from afar. Then one soldier tells another to destroy the encampment. And then a narrator starts to tell us where we are and what we're doing here.
He lets us know that the year is 454 AD, and the throne of the Roman Empire is occupied by Valentinian III. From all sides, the empire is under attack by the barbarian hordes, of which the most fearsome are the Vandals, led by Genseric, who are sweeping northward up the peninsula towards Rome.
The capital's only defense force is the Legion, commanded by General Aetsius. But while his soldiers fight with desperate heroism to block the advance of the barbarians, the Roman court, ignoring the disaster which threatens to engulf them, continues to indulge themselves with wanton pleasures. Speaking of wanton pleasures, we go live to the Colosseum, where Valentinian bemoans today's boring entertainment, thanks to those troublesome Christians with their selfish emphasis on the value of human life.
He complains about how good his predecessors had it before him. He's speaking to himself as he's watching the proceedings, and he says to no one in particular that he would like to be remembered as Valentinian the Clement. He calls to one of his guards, Peronius, and complains about the mediocrity of the presentation. There isn't enough blood. Peronius assures them that 6 invincible gladiators are scheduled as part of the program later in the day, so sit tight and enjoy the show. Then, to try and cheer Valentinian up, the guard tells him that several men are to be secretly put to death later that evening. But Valentinian is a little disappointed. He'd rather see that they be put to death publicly. But Peronius says they can display the bodies after the fact.
Public doesn't want to see the execution. They'll get them all riled up.
Then he gives Valentinian the choice of how these men will be executed. Will it be hanging? Decapitation? Crucifixion?
Valentinian's nixing the crucifixion, so it's going to be one of the other two, I guess. Anyway, the show starts up again now. A bunch of men wearing small pants or tiny skirts, and not much else, are trotted out. They are all armed and they salute Valentinian by saying Ave Caesar. Then they form a circle with their backs to each other. And more men come out and form a circle around their circle.
The original 6 men are the Invincibles that Peronius had been bragging about.
I guess there's some sort of signal, and then everyone starts battling mano a mano for the entertainment of the masses. There's still not much blood, though, but Valentinian looks a bit disgusted and turned on at the same time by what he's seeing.
Sitting nearby Valentinian is his daughter Priscilla, and she looks disturbed by the proceedings. She abhors violence.
Eventually, the field of combatants shrinks down to the original 6. Don't underestimate that home team advantage, I guess.
As the crowd cheers, Valentinian stands and reads from a scroll he's just received. General Aetsius is reporting that he's fought through the barbarian horde, and he and his men are headed towards Rome. Valentinian calls for a celebration at this news.
And the crowd goes wild. And then we see the army, led by General Aetsius, welcomed into the city gates by the masses.
From his palace, Valentinian is also excited. As far as he's concerned, a crowd cheering his army is the same as them cheering for him. His wife, Calpurnia, points out that one doesn't necessarily mean the other is also true. Valentinian asks her to elaborate, and she says that a cheering crowd can go to a man's head, maybe give him ideas.
Yeah, General Aetsius may be drunk on adoration right now. Calpurnia says it's happened before. A popular general, beloved by the people, has had himself declared the Emperor of Rome. Valentinian looks astounded at this news. He asks one of his advisors, Tydone, if this could be so.
Tydone says that General Aetsius defeated Genseric in one battle, but his hordes still swarm throughout Italy, so it does seem suspect that he returned right at this moment. A general should be overseeing his troops, so he may be coming back just to see how popular he is with the public. And maybe once he sees, he'll make a decision.
Another man says no, Aetsius is loyal to his emperor. After all, his own son Fabius gave his life in the battle. Tydone calls this man naive in the ways of ambitious men, because Aetsius said after a previous victory, "One day the world will remember that I alone saved the empire."
Valentinian decides that they will receive him as the public has. Then they will send him back into battle where he belongs. Once, he says, you have the people on your side, you can dominate them. Then he tells Gabinius, another in his court, that he would like to be remembered as Valentinian, the politician.
I think Gabinius is the historian, and that's why he keeps dictating these copy notes at him. Valentinian's daughter Priscilla comes in the palace room, excitedly telling everyone that Aetsius is here. She's been infected with Aetsius fever, just like the general masses. She says it's a great day for Rome, and Valentinian agrees, and they go to the balcony to greet the general and his men, now parading past the palace.
General Aetsius enters and is received by Valentinian. Aetsius offers the ensigns that his men have captured from the barbarian invaders. He throws them in a pile on the floor. Valentinian picks up a furry horned helmet, smiles, and then throws it to the floor in disgust.
And then Valentinian embraces the valorous warrior, General Aetsius, who is saying something about Genseric's heart being hurled into the sea, or, well, it would have been, had they received the support they needed. But Valentinian is not really listening. He tells Gabinius to log this as a win in the history books, and then privately asks Aetsius what happened. Why didn't he definitively defeat Genseric?
Aetsius says that, after the victory, his men were still growing tired and hungry. A shipment of food and supplies never arrived as scheduled. Valentinian promises to investigate and punish those responsible.
Meanwhile, Calpurnia, Valentinian's wife, consults privately with Tydone. She's worried that the emperor might be influenced by Aetsius, and hear things from him that he's better off not knowing.
Another advisor, Crassus, suggests that they may soon find themselves under Emperor Genseric.
Back with Valentinian, he's asking Tydone where the supply train went. Tydone says he saw the convoy leave Rome with his own eyes, but that bandits may have captured their supplies to sell to the barbarians. Valentinian promises this will never happen again. The next supply train will be accompanied by the Praetorians, his personal guard. Then he pulls General Aetsius to the balcony so that Valentinian can bask in his reflected glory.
Now we're in a tavern where the town drunk is very excited about General Aetsius' return to Rome. He announces that tonight everybody drinks to Aetsius. One table with 6 men are politely tolerating his tirade. The drunk demands that they drink to Aetsius. Someone comes over to whisper in his ear that the men at this table are the 6 invincibles. The only invincible one is Aetsius, he says. He's defeated Genseric, and he's willing to bet that next he will drive Genseric into the sea.
One of the 6 invincibles, Ardensius, tells the drunk that the Roman soldiers are doing their duty on the field of battle, but they never know what's going on in Rome, with all the palace intrigues and dirty politics. Then Ardensius decides to buy a round for all the soldiers in the tavern, and the drunk guy is thrilled at this.
Long live the invincibles, and long live Aetsius, he says.
And then we see one of the men from the palace, Gabinius, come into the tavern. He nods at Ardensius, one of the invincible 6, and then heads into a back room. Ardensius follows. In the back room, Gabinius tells Ardensius that the execution is tonight, and tells him where to go to rescue the condemned, and that he hasn't much time.
And they don't even have much time to continue their conversation because the Praetorian guard comes in the tavern, so Gabinius has to leave lest he be seen.
The guards tell the soldiers present to get the hell out. The group of soldiers refuses to go. The drunk man is inserting himself into this conversation. One man in the tavern says, "It's a shame they didn't send you to fight the war. It would have been over in a week."
Praetorian guard takes this as an insult.
As intended. They say their duty is to protect the emperor. And another guy says, "Yeah, and bully us when you feel like it."
I guess they feel like it because a fight ensues. The drunk goes upstairs to watch safely from the balcony, but the fight makes its way upstairs too. It's the soldiers versus the Praetorian guard.
And the Invincible 6 is fighting too, and seem to be doing pretty well. And then a stranger enters the tavern.
This is Fabius, and he's General Aetsius' allegedly dead son.
He is risen.
He joins the melee. The drunk, who had retreated outside, comes back in to let everyone know that there is an army of palace guardsmen headed this way. So the soldiers get out of there, fast.
So everyone skedaddles, and we follow the 6 invincibles out to a field, where Fabius and Ardensius have a tender reunion. Ardensius asks how Fabius escaped capture by the Vandals. He said he was so covered in blood, his badge of rank went unnoticed. And then he slipped away in all the chaos surrounding his father's victory.
And Fabius says that the first thing he saw when he returns to town is Ardensius fighting with Praetorians. Same old, says Ardensius. He elaborates that the Praetorians aren't soldiers, they're thugs. The entire imperial court is corrupt, and the soldiers out in the front have no idea what life is like now back in Rome.
And the rest of the Six Invincibles explain that they've gone from being centurions to palace show ponies that perform for the emperor to pay off their tax bills. It came with the land that was gifted to them by the empire for their service in battle. They seem a bit bitter about all this.
After their forced retirement. But Ardensius says that's only a small part of a long, sad story. Fabius asks him to go on, but Ardensius says maybe some other time. They got some business to take care of.
Ardensius says that they can be found at the Roman circus, and Fabius promises to visit soon, and the Six Invincibles ride off.
Next, we see them sneaking around the perimeter of the palace. They split up into 3 groups of 2 and take cover as the prisoners are brought out for their execution.
It's 2 men in a wagon, and we see that Fabius is also there. I guess he followed them? The Six Invincibles attack and free the prisoners, but more guards are called in. Fabius creates a distraction, which allows the Six Invincibles to escape, but he gets captured. As he's being arrested, he tries the "do you know who I am" trick, but no one believes that he's really General Aetsius' son, so he's taken into custody.
In the next scene, it's now daylight, and General Aetsius is speaking with Fabius in the palace. Aetsius says that he never imagined he would have to get his son out of prison after an open act of rebellion against the empire. Fabius says his father didn't seem to be in any hurry to get him out. He had to spend the night in prison. Besides, it wasn't an act of rebellion. In his eyes, it was fighting an injustice.
Aetsius doesn't want to hear that, though. A soldier's duty is to obey, not to question authority. Aetsius convinced the emperor to let Fabius keep his rank and return to the front lines with him in 3 days. But Fabius has lost the drive to fight for an emperor that so greatly wrongs its citizens. In other words, he's gone woke. Good for him.
Aetsius bluntly asks Fabius to think about what he's saying, and to remember that he comes from a long line of soldiers.
Which means men of honor. Aetsius has to go talk to one of his soldiers, so he leaves Fabius alone to think about it. And then we're at the palace, and I'm not sure what's going on here. It looks like a dance recital.
Tonight's entertainment is a dance recital. Priscilla and her friends seem to be enjoying it. Tidone is as well, who shoots a smile at Calpurnia, but she just kind of rolls her eyes at him. Valentinian seems amused as well. At least he doesn't look bored this time.
General Aetsius is there, and he's trying hard to get Valentinian's attention. He's telling him that Genseric has reinforcements coming in from Africa. But Valentinian brushes him off. He's sure that Aetsius can handle this trial as well as he's handled all the others. Valentinian's focused on the dancers because he paid a fortune to have them imported from Greece. Only the Greeks understand the significance of the dance.
He's watching them through a little telescopic device, like on a ring on his finger.
It's like opera glasses, but it's a single lens, and you wear it on your finger.
And it doesn't seem very practical or useful.
It's like his cheaters. You can't see without him.
Aetsius reminds Valentinian that his men are still going to be in need of food and supplies, and Valentinian assures him that he'll get everything he needs, provided he stops bugging him and lets him watch these people dance.
And he tells him to get that scowl off his face, but Aetsius can't quite do that. Crassus and Tidone fill Calpurnia in on the dispute between Aetsius and Valentinian, and that reinforcements are coming in for Aetsius' army. A legion led by Lucius Gapius is marching to Rome as backup for Aetsius. Lucius is a hard-headed patriot like Aetsius.
Calpurnia reveals that this isn't going to be happening because she's already talked Valentinian out of this. If Aetsius were to die in battle, they will no longer have to worry about him declaring himself Emperor of Rome.
And then Fabius arrives at the palace accompanied by Gavinius.
Priscilla takes notice of him. She's no longer looking at the dancers. Her 2 friends are still entranced, though.
General Aetsius introduces his son to Valentinian, who barely looks at him. He's still intrigued by those dancers. Aetsius tries to intercede on his son's behalf, but Valentinian's not listening.
Priscilla asks Lydia, one of her friends, "Who is that?" "It's Fabius, son of General Aetsius." "The one who saved those men from execution?" asks Priscilla. "Yes," replies Lydia.
Fabius is still trying to talk to Valentinian and promises to be a good little soldier from here on out. Valentinian nods and waves him away. And then Fabius notices Priscilla and looks to Gavinius, who introduces the 2 to each other.
Fabius and Priscilla both admit they were anxious to meet each other. Priscilla says his recent exploits have been the talk of the imperial court. The dance ends and the dancers run out. A gong is gonged, and 2 shirtless men are escorted into the room.
This is the next entertainment. We have 2 wrestlers who have their feet tied one to another by a long rope, and then they fight. Priscilla decides to go off elsewhere, and Fabius follows her. He asks why she left, and she says she detests violence and the fact that these men were taken from their homes to come fight for the amusement of the emperor. Back in the throne room, the fight is ended.
For the victor, the reward is to carry the unconscious loser out of the room as they're still tied at the ankles.
And then we return to Priscilla and Fabius, who are gazing at the night sky from the balcony. She bemoans her position. She's a princess with no power. The women of Rome may bow to her, but she's envious of them, with their little problems and their hopes and their dreams.
Fabius says he understands, and he's glad to hear her speak like this. Priscilla says she doesn't often speak this openly, and here she is talking to a stranger. Sometimes strangers are easier to talk to, offers Fabius, and strangers often understand things better.
It's called therapy. And now we're down in some caverns underneath Rome. Apparently no one ever says where we are. And we see Ardensius helping those escaped prisoners in what must be their secret hideout. He's with the other Invincibles. The prisoners thank Ardensius, but he says no worries.
One of the Invincibles runs over to tell Ardensius that Gabinius is coming, and he's brought Fabius with him. Ardensius is puzzled as to why he would bring Fabius here, so he goes to speak with him. Gabinius tells Ardensius that he's indebted to Fabius, then explains how Fabius helped them out the other night. Ardensius is grateful that Fabius was willing to take the risk to help them. I didn't risk anything, says Fabius. Being the son of General Aetsius does hold certain advantages.
Like immunity from prosecution. Fabius says that he thought Gabinius was just another palace bootlicker, but that's what Gabinius wants everyone to think.
His position in the court also holds certain advantages.
He's recording history as it happens, but he's also feeding intel to Ardensius. They saved those 2 prisoners, but many more people are starving in the prisons right now. They're stealing food from the rich to feed a few people at a time.
Then Gabinius and Ardensius argue about how best to attack the empire. They decide that, with Fabius's experience and his knowledge and abilities at war games, having him on their side would hold certain advantages.
Ardensius says he's just a soldier, but Fabius is a leader. That is what he's bred for. He should take command here and not on some battlefield. The most dangerous enemies to the people are here at Valentinian's court.
Now night falls at the palace, and General Aetsius is ready to rejoin the battlefront. He tells Valentinian that all will be well provided his men receive the supplies they've been promised. Valentinian assures him it's being taken care of.
Fabius is standing with Priscilla, who says that she's disappointed in him. Now that it's time for action, it's his father who moves and not him. Fabius begs her to understand, as his father leaves without him, but Priscilla breaks up with him anyway.
She says she has nothing more to say and that it's best that they never see each other again.
And now we're well outside of Rome, watching a supply train moving through the country.
The Invincibles are on horseback, and they are watching as well.
As are a group of barbarians, who consult with one of the men who are guarding the supply train. They have a secret nod, so apparently something's up there. What happens next is the Vandals attack, the Invincibles attack, and everybody fights. And I think what was going to happen is the barbarians were going to steal the supplies with help from the people guarding them. And this is probably due to some interference by Calpurnia. However, it's not very well explained, so I could be wrong.
But the victors of this fight are the Invincibles along with Fabius, after much fighting with swords on horseback.
Next thing we see is the man who was guarding the food convoy, who consulted with the barbarians before they attacked, telling General Aetsius what happened to the food convoy. It was the rebels who attacked and stole everything.
It was guarded by slaves, and not by Praetorians, as it was supposed to have been, and Aetsius finds this to be surprising, both that the barbarians would attack slaves, who wouldn't be seen as holding anything of value, and that the shipment wasn't escorted by Praetorians, given how important this particular shipment was.
Aetsius is worried that the discontent spreading amongst the troops is going to be a real problem now. They only have 3 days' worth of food left, and morale is correspondingly low. A soldier announces that 20 wagons are approaching the encampment, so Aetsius goes to see what the heck's happening.
And it's the shipment they were expecting. Although there were only a handful of men making the drop, then they rode off. Aetsius asked one of his men to feed some of the food to the dogs before distributing it to the men. The barbarians are known to poison food.
And now we're back with Fabius. He's in an underground cavern or catacomb where Priscilla is attending some weird culty church service.
It's Catholic, isn't it?
Exactly. I said what I said.
Priscilla notices Fabius come in, and she steps outside the room so they may speak.
I think he just stares at her back until she gets that creepy feeling in the back of her neck.
Priscilla reminds Fabius that she didn't want to see him again, but he says there's something he must tell her, and doing it here, before the cross, well, she'll have to believe he's telling the truth.
Back at the palace, Calpurnia and Tidone meet alone in her chambers. Tydone says that no one could have known the convoy's route. There's some treachery at work here. And then we see that Crassus is also there. He does tend to pop up out of nowhere. He says that there could be an upside here. If they support General Aetsius, then when he wins, the three of them can let him know that it's because of their intervention. Calpurnia tells him not to be stupid. If Aetsius wins, he'll be the idol of Rome, and he's not a dummy like Valentinian. They'd lose their heads.
Calpurnia says she cannot even walk the streets of Rome without praetorians as bodyguards. And even then, she has to endure the vilest of insults. And they all wonder if Aetsius would have it any better if he were in charge. There was still the matter of Genseric and the barbarians and their determination of their conquest of Rome.
Tydone says that this time Aetsius is fighting from a fortress, not an open field. But when that falls, the road to Rome is wide open, and Genseric won't stop until he has the city in his hands. Crassus wants to get out of Dodge, but Calpurnia has another plan.
Calpurnia tells Tydone and Crassus that she is sending them to Genseric's camp to speak with him directly. They both look very concerned, but Calpurnia tells them not to worry. She will arrange it so they can offer Genseric all of Rome on a silver platter.
And now we're back with Priscilla and Fabius, and apparently they've had their talk and all is forgiven. And he says that he loves her. Aw.
Then the service is over, so everyone leaves. And now we're at Genseric's camp. We're more than halfway through the film, and this is the first appearance of the enemy.
Well, he does kind of take over from here, so that's fair.
And Tydone is meeting with him. Tydone tells Genseric about how the wagon train was successfully delivered to General Aetsius' stronghold, despite the attack by Genseric's men. And he tells them how many armies before his have attacked the walls of Rome and did not succeed. And Genseric's men were even forced to retreat when General Aetsius' men were deprived of food and hungry. But now they are well stocked and fortified. What chance has he now against them? Genseric is growing impatient with Tydone and wonders what the real purpose is of his visit.
Tydone says that Rome's biggest enemy is the Roman people, plucky survivors that they are. Rome hasn't dominated the world by the might of the sword, but by the savvy political thinking on the part of its generals. Defeating people isn't the same as conquering them, and then after a bit he gets to the point. Valentinian only has a daughter, not a son like Genseric. Whoever marries that daughter will legitimately inherit the throne on Valentinian's death. Genseric likes the idea of being emperor. Then his son comes in and wants to know what's going on.
And Genseric tells his son, Wilfrid, that Tydone has come by to offer him the title of Emperor of Rome. Wilfrid laughs. So generous to offer him the title of Caesar after they've conquered Rome. No, he'll prefer to just take it.
He wants to sack and loot and pillage his way to the crown, but Genseric still has Tydone's words in his ear. Rome is too valuable to destroy. He tells his son that he will be emperor, ruler of the world, and this plotter here wants nothing in return. Plus, he gets to marry Valentinian's daughter and inherit the throne.
Wilfrid smiles as he starts to understand this plan, but he still has concerns. Is she pretty, he asks.
Oh, of course.
Tydone assures him that she is, and at any rate, says Genseric, you could just throw her out should you tire of her, just like I did with your mother. Tydone laughs. They often do the same thing in Rome. And when in Rome...
Man. I should have pointed out that Crassus is here, but he's so quiet. He just pops up every now and again. He's usually out of frame. Tydone says that they can arrange for Wilfrid to see Priscilla before the wedding, if he likes, and Wilfrid likes that idea. And now we're in the catacombs that serve as a church. Tydone and Crassus are there and say they're taking a risk, but that Tydone had all the Praetorian guards sidelined, so it's not that dangerous.
So they've arranged for Wilfrid to sneak into the catacombs so he can take a gander at Priscilla before he commits to this plan.
She's there every day for her services.
Now we're at the Invincibles cave, and Fabius and Gabinius come running in. They say that Wilfrid is now in Rome, so if they can manage to kidnap him, they will have an upper hand against Genseric and his barbarians. At this news, the Invincibles rush off to complete this mission.
Back in the catacombs, some guys drag an unwilling Priscilla in front of Wilfrid, who explains who he is and claims ownership over Priscilla. Tydone and Crassus are there to confirm that the marriage between the two families was arranged by her father. But she doesn't believe it.
The priest says this is all well and good, but before the marriage can take place, the groom must be of Christian faith, and the barbarians are known not to be Christians. Tydone says that's no problem. He can just convert, and you can even baptize him yourself. But Wilfrid says that he has only one religion, his sword, and even Valentinian would be unable to argue with that. Wilfrid says he will marry Priscilla, as per the agreement, but he will not be converted. He demands that Priscilla be taken away, and Tydone and Crassus look as if they've made a terrible mistake.
They do look a bit guilty. And then the priest and the other congregants start praying. Now we're outside, where Fabius and the Invincibles are riding from wherever they were hiding. Back at the catacombs, Tydone and Crassus wonder what they're going to tell Calpurnia. Wilfrid went off script and acted rather hastily, but the plan still stands. Tydone wants to rush to Genseric's camp to pluck the fruit of the seed that they planted. But at that point, the Invincibles arrive in the catacomb, so Tydone and Crassus have to sneak out the back way.
The priest tells the Invincibles they've come too late. Priscilla has been taken away by Wilfrid and his men, so the Invincibles rush off in pursuit. The Invincibles and Fabius catch up to the barbarians in the countryside, and Fabius tells the others to hold them off while he saves Priscilla.
He always gets the easy jobs.
Then there's another sword fight from horseback, and Priscilla is liberated and Fabius takes off with her while the Invincibles drive off Wilfrid and the remaining barbarians.
Wilfrid and his men return to their camp, rather grumpily. Once there, Wilfrid bitches to his dad that the Romans have outsmarted them and that they should attack now. But before Genseric can give the order, Tydone and Crassus arrive, smugly confident that everything has worked out for the best. Tydone says that he has the signed marriage contract, so there are no protracted negotiations necessary.
Genseric asks if they might be seeking a reward. Tydone replies, "Nothing fancy, just that you keep us on as advisors so we can continue living in palatial glory." Genseric contemplates this for a millisecond, then has his men stab them in the back. "Now we march," Genseric declares, "on to Rome."
Boy, did Tydone look surprised when he got stabbed. And so they march. The barbarians come across Aetsius' army and charge. Aetsius' men assume battle formation and stand ready for attack as the horde charges. The battle begins, but then barbarian archers get the better of the soldiers from Rome.
As the barbarians charge forward, they break through the line almost instantly. Several soldiers retreat, but Aetsius must stand his ground. His place is here on the battlefront.
But then he's attacked and injured. His men come to his aid. Aetsius says, "We must get a message to Rome. We are defeated. They'll go to the stockade, their encampment, and make their last stand there." So they carry him off.
The news must have reached Rome because townspeople are fleeing into their homes. From his palace balcony, Valentinian sees the commotion below. He calls out to Calpurnia, then to his advisors, but no one responds. "They've all abandoned me," he says. He gongs his gong several times in frustration.
But nobody comes. So he sits on his throne, unsure of what else to do. As the people of Rome are trying to save themselves, Gabinius goes to Valentinian to encourage him to go among the people, to give them courage. But Valentinian's in his feelings right now. Calpurnia left him and took all their money, and he's verklempt.
He asks Gabinius to take a note. Valentinian, with the courage of a lion, saved the Roman Empire.
I don't think historical fiction is Gabinius' genre, though. Now we're in the stables with Fabius and Priscilla. They're blissfully happy, and blissfully unaware, apparently, that Rome has been sacked. They pledge their love to each other.
Then Gabinius comes in to report that the barbarians have invaded Rome, and Valentinian has all but surrendered. Fabius realizes that his father will die in action with the belief that he has a coward for a son. Priscilla, knowing the importance of this, tells Fabius to go and do right by Rome.
Now we see Ardensius and Fabius sneaking into his father's encampment.
Outside the gate, Fabius announces himself as the son of Aetsius to the guard, so he lets Fabius in.
You say so. Aetsius, lying on a cot in his tent, suffering from many grievous injuries, asks how many men remain. He's told about 200 are left. Dare he ask them to make the final sacrifice, he asks his advisors.
Aetsius is growing weaker, but Fabius has arrived to tell him goodbye. Ardensius and the soldiers leave them alone. Aetsius says that he knew Fabius would come, but it's over. He must flee. Tomorrow the barbarians will attack and Rome will disappear in a sea of fire. And those are Aetsius' last words.
Fabius comes out of the tent to tell the men that his father is dead, and that anyone who wants to go can leave now. Everyone else can fight, but they should know that they have no chance. Wow, inspirational.
The soldiers wave their swords and say, "Long live Rome!" And now it's dawn, and as scheduled, the barbarians attack. They break through the wall, and the remaining soldiers and the Invincibles do their best to defend the encampment. Wilfrid hides around a corner to stay out of direct harm's way, but he has no trouble stabbing Ardensius in the back when he comes by. Fabius is cornered, but Wilfrid tells his men not to kill him. He wants this one alive.
And then we're with Genseric, who goes into the tent so he can personally kill Aetsius, but he sees that he's too late. So he asks Wilfrid to bring Fabius to him.
Genseric tells Fabius that his father was a great warrior, and he pays his respects. Wilfrid asks that Genseric hand over Fabius to him, and Genseric does so. Wilfrid demands that Fabius tell him where he's hidden Priscilla, but Fabius says nothing.
Ardensius, who was stabbed in the back, returns to the stables, and his man calls out for Priscilla and Gabinius. Ardensius tells Priscilla about Fabius being captured, and then tells her to save herself, but instead she hops on a horse and gallops away.
Now we see that Fabius is being tortured by Genseric and Wilfrid by withholding water from him.
Genseric recommends hot irons rather than withholding water.
But still, Fabius refuses to talk. Instead, he assaults their odor, saying that their women smell like sheep, but still better than they do. And this results in a lashing.
But then Priscilla rides into Genseric's camp. Fabius can't believe that he went through all that torture for nothing. Priscilla proposes a pact. Genseric says that victors don't make pacts with losers, but Priscilla continues. She looks at Wilfrid and says she will be his if he lets Fabius go. He promises to, but she doesn't believe his promises, and makes him swear on his beloved sword. So he does. He asks his father for permission to marry this lady, and Genseric says yes. The wedding will be held in 3 days.
He will officiate.
Well, of course.
And now it's 3 days later, it's the wedding day.
Before the wedding begins, a soothsayer proclaims that the marriage auspices are not good. Genseric tells him that he said the same thing about the battle, and he was wrong then too. Today, his son will marry Priscilla.
Wilfrid tells Priscilla he has a surprise for her. They will be married in the shadow of a Christian symbol. Come and see the cross they've built. Wilfrid takes her aside and shouts, "Erect the cross!" And a cross is raised with Fabius attached. "Swine!" yells Priscilla. "You don't keep your promises. You have no honor."
Genseric chuckles heartily as he tells his men to shoot an arrow into Fabius's heart at the end of the ceremony.
Because in their religion, their gods are only placated by sacrifice.
So the men ready their arrows. But wait, the 6 invincibles are also there, and they never lose. The wedding proceeds according to the blood rites, as the 6 creep closer to their crucified friend.
Ardenzius gets close enough to cut Fabius loose. They start to fight the barbarians on hand, which catches the attention of Genseric, and the wedding stops. He directs his men to join the fray, and to not let them get away.
Fabius manages to kill Wilfrid and saves his lady, and then Ardenzius is hit. He's down, but he opens his eyes and gets a good last look at that cross before he dies.
The fight continues, but the barbarians are defeated, and Fabius and Priscilla are reunited.
I didn't see Genseric get killed, though.
As Fabius, Priscilla, and the 5 remaining invincibles walk over the hill, they see the people of Rome being led by the priest. The priest tells them that the barbarians have taken over the city of Rome, but the people of Rome will live on. And Fabius, Priscilla, and the invincibles throw down their weapons and join the crowd as they march on towards a new tomorrow.
And that's the end. Welcome back to the American International Podcast, where we're talking about Revenge of the Gladiators from 1964.
Revenge of the Gladiators was filmed at De Paola's INCIR studios in Rome. Battle scenes were staged in an open field with the location unknown.
Mickey Hargitay was born in Budapest, Hungary, and moved to the United States, where he began his performing career as an acrobat, before being inspired to take up bodybuilding after seeing a magazine cover featuring Steve Reeves. Hargitay won the Mr. Universe competition in 1955. He was recruited by Mae West to star in her Muscle Man review, and got into film in 1957, when his then-wife Jane Mansfield demanded that he be cast in her film Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter? Hargitay and Mansfield starred together in the Italian-produced film The Loves of Hercules in 1960.
During production, Hargitay and boxer Sugar Ray Robinson, who was in Rome to fight boxer Fabio Bettini, caused a scandal when they staged a mock battle in Rome's Colosseum in late November 1964. Hargitay wore his battle vest from Revenge of the Gladiators, and some bikini-clad actresses served as the fighters' seconds, as depicted in a newspaper photograph of the event, which was published around the world. Roman police officers broke up the fighting and allegedly made the women don something more substantial in the way of clothing, according to a syndicated news item.
An article published in London's Daily Sketch newspaper said, quote, Roman Catholic Church authorities in Rome were protesting yesterday against a make-believe fight between Sugar Ray Robinson and Mickey Hargitay in the Colosseum. The ancient ruin is a Roman Catholic shrine because of the Christians martyred in it. The Sketch article quoted an opinion piece that ran in Rome's L'Osservatore newspaper saying, quote, Can it ever be possible that the reasons of cinema publicity should come before the respect of the most solemn memories of the city in which the Vicar of Christ resides? Can it also be possible that no policeman saw the boxing in the Colosseum and the starlets in their semi-Garden of Eden costumes? End quote. According to the article, police were investigating the incident as there were legal restrictions on photography within the Colosseum. Robinson, who had requested to meet the Pope while in the city, was informed that his request was denied.
Columnist Harrison Carroll wrote in his syndicated column, published in late November 1964, that Hargitay suffered a broken nose and cut his hand while filming a battle scene.
Mickey Hargitay, who had very recently finalized his divorce from actress Jane Mansfield, was apparently very busy romantically while he was in Rome filming Revenge of the Gladiators. Various gossip columnists paired him with the following women, all around the same time: stewardess Ellen Ciano, actress Rita Catalu and actress Gloria Wall, each of whom were said to appear in Revenge of the Gladiators, if Luella Parsons and Harrison Carroll are to be believed, but I couldn't find them in any list of cast members.
La Vendetta di Gladiatori was released theatrically in Italy in December of 1964. Revenge of the Gladiators was released as part of AITV's Epicolor 65 package, first airing on American television stations in October of 1965.
And that's the scant amount of information we have on Revenge of the Gladiators. Well, we haven't done a lot of these Italian peplum movies, but this one doesn't have a Hercules or a Colossus. It just has regular people.
Yeah, and I think that not having that character to root for did not help this film at all.
It was all about palace intrigue and politics, and there were some battle scenes, obviously.
And we've seen a lot of palace intrigue in another one of these peplum films we do. I think it was Samson and the Slave Queen.
I think you're right.
Or was it Goliath and the Barbarians?
They're all the same. So maybe that did make it stand out a little bit. There's no supernatural element at work here.
Well, it certainly didn't make it more interesting.
It should have, but it really didn't, because I don't think we cared about any of the characters at all. They're all very briefly sketched.
Well, except for the drunk at the tavern, he kind of stood out. I thought he'd have a bigger part. I thought he would feature throughout and have his own commentary, but he was just in that one scene.
I can't imagine the machinations the scriptwriter would have to go to insert him into scenes in the battlefield or inside the palace.
Well, not inside the palace, but I thought he'd be on the streets just commenting on what's going on.
Maybe he could take out a few of the marauders while he was at it, the way he took out some of the Praetorian guards.
And I think part of what just made that character so interesting was the way he was dubbed. It was very over the top, and I'm sure it played very differently in the original Italian version.
I'm sure it did. This movie had such a downer ending, too. We end on a victory, sort of, but then Rome has been lost.
Is that how it happened? I don't really know what made the Roman Empire fall.
That is what made the Roman Empire fall. I don't know if the timing's correct, but I didn't look it up either, so I could be wrong. But basically, the Roman Empire was not too big to fail. They extended themselves too far, and there was a lot of decadence and mismanagement on the part of the emperors. But I couldn't tell you who the last Roman emperor was.
Well, if this is historical, it was Valentinian.
The last Roman emperor ruled till the 470s. So this film is not historically accurate.
This film is also, as a lot of these are, needlessly complicated. And you have this political intrigue, and especially if it's a dubbed movie, I don't feel we get all the details necessary to follow exactly what's going on.
No, a lot of the things that happened had us debating amongst ourselves. What does it all mean? It didn't help that the names of the characters were changed from the original Italian to the English dub, where Ezio became Aetsius and
Genserico is Genseric.
Fabio is Fabius. But then when the captioner was writing down the names, they came up with a different spelling almost every single time a character appeared on screen. We weren't sure what to call people at times. They said Tidone was Paizo.
It sounds like they're saying Paizo. It's Tidone on IMDb, and everywhere I've seen it written, except for the captions, has been Tidone.
So that's what we said. That's not what we heard. But yeah, it's difficult to care about the politics of this, especially when they didn't really give us a lot of the perspective of the people of Rome. And I think when people went to see this movie, they just wanted to see people fighting, which we get a good deal of.
Well, people who saw this movie, at least domestically, would have seen it on television. It didn't have a theatrical release.
Well, I was thinking of the Italian release. After all, it's their history. But I imagine they would have been more interested in the battles as opposed to the intrigue.
Speaking of intrigue, there's also a film called Revenge of the Gladiators from 1964 that was released by Paramount Pictures that is not this film.
No. I think that was also called Revenge of Spartacus in some markets.
Well, it's La Vendetta di Spartacus in the original Italian.
How did they both get Revenge of the Gladiators? Did somebody just make a big boo-boo?
I don't know which American company released Spartacus, but maybe there was some rights issues or something there and they had to change the title.
That makes sense.
Because Revenge of the Gladiators is a more direct translation of the film that we watched.
It is. They're actual gladiators in this one.
And when you dub these movies, you can name the characters anything you want, as we've seen here. So it probably wasn't Spartacus, so calling it Revenge of Spartacus would have been ridiculous if Spartacus wasn't even a character in the film.
Just like we saw with all those movies that featured a machiste, but then it was renamed for American audiences as Hercules or Samson.
Or Goliath.
Some biblical name people would recognize.
We have Livio Lorenzon here, who plays Genseric, and we saw him in Goliath and the Barbarians, where he played a barbarian as well. And he's bald except for his top knot is his ponytail.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if maybe he just made a career playing barbarians. I'll just cut my hair and I'll be a working actor.
I sport this hairstyle for the rest of my career.
He gets typecast as a barbarian.
He's really good at it, though. Seems barbarous.
What really caught my attention, though, this time was obviously a different person doing the dubbing. So his voice sounded totally different. He's also quite a bit older here.
Mm-hmm.
So if he wasn't so recognizable because of his facial features and hairstyle, I probably wouldn't have to even realize it was the same guy.
I didn't realize it's the same guy, but you did tell me, so then I knew.
And I believe Andre Cheche was in Goliath and the Barbarians too, and I know he was in Black Sunday.
I do remember him from that. He was the doctor, the older doctor. So there wasn't a whole lot for us to latch onto for this movie. Not a lot of research, and we don't seem to have any big opinions about it. But I think we can rate it using our AIP scale, where A is awesome, I is intermediate, and P is pathetic. Jeff, why don't you put a letter grade on Revenge of the Gladiators?
Well, I thought that this movie was going to be incredibly boring, and was surprised that it wasn't. It's not very good, but it's not boring. It's okay. And even watching it the second time through when we're taking notes, probably because I got a better understanding of it, I enjoyed it a little bit more. And while there are no characters to latch onto or root for, you don't really care about Mickey Hargitay as Fabius. He's just a guy who's there with the rest of them. He's not really the hero of the movie, except that he gets the girl at the end. He's just part of the story, but he's not the hero. There really isn't a hero. But I think it's interesting enough that it's worth an I rating. It's an okay film. What do you think?
I would say that the hero of this movie is probably Ardensius. He's the one that has the drive to help the people of Rome. He recruits Fabius, and he dies for the cause. So to me, he's more the hero than anyone else in the movie. And maybe Aetsius is kind of a hero because he's very noble, he's very set in his ways, but he also dies for his empire. Fabius is kind of a non-entity here. So it kind of bothers me that we're supposed to think of him as the hero, and I don't, just like you. But yeah, you're right. This is just a mediocre movie. It's not worth getting too upset about any of its faults, and there's not a lot to praise either. It hits right in the middle, and it's not that boring. It's just also not that memorable. We'll probably forget we even did this one in a couple of months. So yeah, it hits as an I for me too.
One thing that I think really hurts this film is the cutting that AIP did. It's obviously a widescreen presentation, so there are times when it's closing in on people who aren't talking, and that's why Crassus keeps appearing out of nowhere, because he's just standing in the background most of it, and then he has a line, and whoops, suddenly he's there. And even within scenes, there are jump cuts because of the way that it was chopped up, and it is very distracting to watch this version. I believe there's a widescreen Italian version on YouTube currently. That may be a preferable way to watch that, especially if you speak Italian. If not, then you may want to check out the version that we watched, which is available from Sinister Cinema or currently on Tubi.
The Tubi version is blown up to almost full screen, but then it cuts off the bottom. Sometimes people are in that close-up, but then the bottom of their faces is cut off. But it's not that bad. We got used to it after a while, and it does have captions.
Before we sign off, we'd like to remind you to visit our website, AIPpod.com. The site is growing every week into a massive archive devoted to the worlds of American International Pictures, AIP TV, and the many strange byways connected to them. On the site, you'll find our growing archive of films, posters, trailers, pressbooks, and behind-the-scenes content to go along with each episode. So if you enjoy our explorations into the obscure releases like Revenge of the Gladiators, the website is where all the discussions Cheryl and I have had about AIP really come together. So after the episode, head on over to AIPpod.com and take a look around.
And now we will throw down our swords and walk away until it's time for us to return with an all-new episode of the American International Podcast. Until then, I'm Cheryl Lightfoot.
And I'm Jeff Markin.
And we'll meet you at the drive-in.
Follow the American International Podcast on Instagram and Letterboxd at AIP_pod and on Facebook at facebook.com/American International Podcast.
The American International Podcast is produced and edited by Jeff Markin.
A man whose mind is distorted by hatred.
And Cheryl Lightfoot.
A girl hungry for too many things.
The American International Podcast is part of the Pop Culture Entertainment Network.